You have that infected just an FYI. No, it's the editing. Whoever put it up, editing.
برای خشنودی امام زمانه بلند کر صلوات اللهم صل على محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت وعليك السلام. قال إني أجد في بني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال يا فاطمة ائتني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسن قد أقبل فقال السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذنني أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء. فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذنني أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء. وقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. وقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذنني أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء. قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذنني أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء. قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يعلمني ما يعلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل.
وقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل: يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وقال جبرائيل: يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون مع سادسا؟ فقال الله: نعم، قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام: يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم، قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. وقال لأبي: إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل.
وقال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. وقال علي: إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. وقال النبي الثانية: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. وقال علي: إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل. برای تعجیل ظهور امام زمانہ بلندتر صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. امام زمانہ بلندتر صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل نعرہ حیدری.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء، حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وعلى منكري فضائلهم من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
If we can recite a second salawat to hasten the reappearance of Maulana Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
And the third of your loudest salawat to pledge allegiance and bay'ah to Maulana Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein Zayn al-Abidin salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Ahibai, we continue on this journey of ishq and this journey of ma'rifah. For this journey began on the 3rd of Sha'ban at the blessed feet of Sayyid al-Shuhada, where the fountain of ishq sprouts out from the ground. And we followed this fountain of ishq from the 3rd of Sha'ban, and on the 4th of Sha'ban, this fountain of ishq took us Bayn al-Haramain and into the maqam of Abul Fadl al-Abbas. And we continue today for this fountain that began on the 3rd of Sha'ban and culminated on the 4th. Today, this fountain of ishq from Karbala brings us to Jannatul Baqi'. And tonight, by the barakah of this personality, this fountain of ishq that begins in Karbala and is rerouted to Jannatul Baqi', this fountain of ishq with the barakah of this personality, this fountain of ishq now mixes with the pond of Kawthar in the Jinnah. For tonight is the celebration of this personality who is the wasila between the Hawd of Kawthar and the Hawd of Ishq. Tonight is the celebration of this personality who, through your affiliation with this river of Ishq, will guide your hand and take you to this river of Kawthar. Tonight is the celebration of this personality who is the wasila between us and Karbala. Because had it not been for this personality, neither you nor I would have had any ma'alim of what happened inside of Karbala. Today is the celebration of this personality, none other than Maulana Imam علي بن الحسين زين العابدين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه.
يا علي.
فإمام زين العابدين أحبائي, the historians narrate that his mother, his blessed, pure and chaste mother, was a princess and one of the daughters of the kings of the Persian Empire at that time. And during one of the so-called Islamic conquests, when in reality it wasn't an Islamic conquest, but the use of religion to gain territorial expansion. For this happened during the time of Umar ibn Khattab, when the Persian lands were attacked and prisoners were brought in to the Islamic land. This is part of Islamic history that is common and very well known. For from the prisoners that were brought from the Persian Empire, there were the two daughters of the king of Persia, known as Yazd or Yazdjard. He had two daughters, and they were brought as prisoners, tied with ropes and paraded inside of Masjid al-Nabawi. For historians tell us that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam came into the masjid and rebuked the Muslimin for treating these prisoners of war, and in particular the women, in this humiliating manner, and commanded for them to be released, to be untied, and to be treated with the highest level of honor and respect. For you find over here that Bain al-Qawsayn, even when you come on the milad of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, and you speak about the mother of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, there is this connotation of imprisonment and slavery and being tied by chains and ropes. Now we said from the first night, these three milad, Sha'baniya, are milads where tears of happiness are mixed with tears of grief and haqiqah. For Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam commanded for these women to be liberated, to be treated with respect and honor within the masjid, and the same with every other individual that was captured in this conquest for territory. And as these women were released, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam went up to both these women in particular and says to them, as strangers in this foreign land, this is Mawla Nafsun Nabi, wa ma yantiku anil hawa, in huwa illa wahyun yuha. For there is a tadbir ilahi that has happened in the heavens that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is uncovering for us. He goes to both the women and says to them, select for yourselves men as husbands or as spouses. For the first sister says, from the two sisters, this is Amir al-Mu'mineen speaking, the haiba of the Imam Zaman of the time, the jalala of the Imam Zaman of the time, puts them in such a position such that any human being, any creation who goes towards them feels security and aman. I've dropped a very big word over here that will make a lot of sense towards the end of the lecture. Whoever is around the Imam Zaman of their time feels security and aman. And you, insha'Allah, mu'mineen, may Allah grant all of us the opportunity to perform the ziyarah of the A'imma. But you will find that every time you have gone to the shrine of the A'imma, you feel sukoon, yani you feel aman. If the surrounding in which an Imam is buried can produce aman, then imagine being in front of the Mawla himself. Let somebody come and ask, how could two women who were prisoners and strangers in a foreign land entrusted decision as grand as marriage with Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is that haiba and that jalala and that kibriya of Allah Azza wa Jal that is manifest through them. For the second of the sisters says, you choose for me, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. For the historians mention that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam married her to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, who Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, he is my son that I have raised and brought up, my tarbiyah. This Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, who was at the forefront in the battle of Jamal against the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, who said the relationship by wilaya is greater than the relationship by blood. For if blood is on batil, there is no blood between us in terms of relationship. For Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr was married to the second sister or the second daughter of Yazdijard. And then there was this woman by the name of Sha'ban. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, and would you like to be married? Historians mention she went with all her haya and with all her chastity, and she stood behind Imam al-Hussein. For from here it was understood that her choice in marriage is Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And hence, from her marriage with Imam al-Hussein, years later, they were blessed with the birth of Maulana Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein, Zainul Abidin, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. So we have within the narrations that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam even renamed Sayyidah Shaharbanu with the name Maryam. And there are many names that she is referred to in history. And there is a philosophy behind it, and there is a reasoning behind it, perhaps for a bahat, for another occasion, or another time if Allah Azza wa Jal gives the opportunity. But one of the names that was granted to her was Maryam. And when you reflect on the name Maryam and the chastity of Lady Maryam in the Quran, know that Sayyidah Shaharbanu was a reflection of that chastity, because from her flesh comes Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأسلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة. From this Arham al-Mutahhara, chaste pure women, say the Shaharbanu. Years later, or time later, the historians mention that Sayyidah Shaharbanu was asked, what guided your choice, what motivated your choice, such that when Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam asked you who you would like to be married, you looked around the masjid and without hesitation you went and stood behind the Imam al-Hussein. Why this choice? Sayyidah Shaharbanu mentions that before the attack on our homeland, 2 nights before the attack on our homeland, I saw in my dream Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And I saw Imam al-Hussein in my dream. And I see that they have come to my house, and the Rasulullah speaks with my father and my grandfather and seeks my hand in marriage with his son Imam al-Hussein. And this marriage took place in this dream. Ru'ya, there are dreams that are sadika and ru'ya that are ghair sadika. Ru'ya sadika. In this ru'ya sadika, true dreams, there is bisharat. In these dreams, there is wahi. In these dreams, there is the occurrence of the future as attested within the Quran in the dream of Yaqub himself. Allah Azza wa Jal narrates this as part of wahi. The dreams of the Anbiya have a certain level of hujjiyah attached towards it. In either case, she says, and on the second night, the Lady of Light, سيدة نساء العالمين سيدة فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجها comes to my house with Imam al-Hussein, and she says to me, Shahrbanu, attest to the wilaya of Allah, the tawheed of Allah, and the nabuwa of my father Rasulullah, and the wilaya of my husband Amirul Mu'mineen. And these three shahadat validate your relationship with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. She says, I recited the three shahadat. The following day, the attack happened on our city and we were taken as prisoners. I came to the masjid. When Imam al-Hussein entered into the masjid, I said, this is the man that was paid to me in my dream by Rasulullah and Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. فَتَقْدِيرٌ إِلَهِي صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد.
So this is the history of Sayyidah Shahrbanu in how she met Maulana Sayyid al-Shuhada, and through this marriage the blessing was the birth of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. Fatara, historians have differences between them in regards to whether Shahrbanu alayhi salam, Sayyidah Shahrbanu alayhi salam was present in Karbala or no. Majority of the Mufassirin or majority of the narrators of history are of the opinion that Sayyidah Shahrbanu passed away within the first week of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam being born. And you have other historians, Arbabul Maqatil, those who have spent and exerted effort in terms of verifying and recording and narrating and capturing the events of Karbala, who are of the opinion that no, Sayyidah Shahrbanu was actually present in Karbala, and we have parts of a maktal that mention that there was a small child. When Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was about to be shaheed, one of the small children from Bani Hashim ran out of the khaymaga with a tent pole, was attacked by the enemies, became shaheed, and there was a lady standing at the door of the khaymaga watching in awe and watching in grief. This lady's name was Shahrbanu. Whether this is the Shahrbanu, the mother of Imam Zainul Abidin, or another woman named Shahrbanu in honor of Imam Zainul Abidin, this is a place of bahath that needs tahqiq. But in either way, historians mention that from the children of Imam al-Hussein, there was a name that was mahbub to Imam al-Hussein. From the children that Imam al-Hussein had, we know 100% at least 3 of his sons were named Ali. You have Ali al-Akbar, Shaheed Karbala, buried by the feet of Imam al-Hussein. You have Ali Zainul Abidin, and you have Ali al-Asghar, who is an infant in addition to Abdullah al-Radi. Historians, again, it is in fact not from the historians but the Imam himself, it is established that Imam Ali al-Akbar Shaheed in Karbala was the eldest son of Imam al-Hussein. And the proof for this being, when you refer back to the Maqatil, you find that when Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam was brought as a prisoner into Kufa and into the Darul Imara, Imam Zainul Abidin walked in shackles and in chains. Ibn Ziyad al-La'in asks, and who is this? So the people reply back to him and they say, this is Ali. Hada Ali ibn al-Hussein. This is Ali, the son of Hussein. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad al-La'in says, Ama qatalallahu aliyan? Did Allah not kill Ali in Karbala? Yani the son of Imam al-Hussein? Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam corrects him and says, Qatalahu nas, bal qatalahu nas. Allah didn't kill him. Because the propaganda from Bani Umayyah over there was to show that whatever has happened in Karbala is the proof of Allah, of who is victorious. So he corrected him. Stood against the propaganda. And then Imam Sajjad alayhi salam goes on to say, Kana li akhun akbar minni. There used to be, I had a brother who was elder than me. يعني علي الأكبر. فإمام الحسين عليه السلام سيد الشهداء had 3 sons by the name of Ali. And over here there is a point or a nokta latifa in history. It is narrated that years later, both Imam Ali Zainul Abidin and Imam Ali al-Akbar were walking through the streets of Medina. And they passed through Masjid al-Nabawi. Both Ali Zainul Abidin Imam and Imam Ali al-Akbar, 2 brothers, children, sons of Sayyid al-Shuhada, they were walking through Masjid al-Nabawi and they saw Marwan ibn Hakam al-La'in. Marwan saw both of them. So he went to Ali al-Akbar and he said to him, "Son, who are you?" He says, "I am from the children of Bani Hashim." He says, "Son, what is your name?" He says to him, "My name is Ali." He says, "Ali who?" He says, "I'm Ali, the son of Hussein." Marwan's face dropped. I'm paraphrasing history over here because even the name Ali was hated. For it was a name that they hated Bani Umayyah. Sometimes I read today in history during the time of Bani Umayyah when they were at the peak of their dhulm, if somebody wanted to humiliate somebody else in public, they would call him Ali. This is the level of hatred that Bani Umayyah had fostered in the Ummah against Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Shi'as of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Marwan's face dropped. This person, his name is Ali ibn al-Husayn. He looked at Imam Zainul Abidin and he said to him, "And who are you?" He says, "I'm one of the sons from the children of Bani Hashim." He says, "And who is your father?" He says, "My father is Hussein." "And what is your name?" "My name is Ali." Marwan looks and he says, "Did your father not know of any other name other than Ali?" Imam Ali al-Akbar goes back to Imam al-Husayn and he says to him, "Oh father, this is what happened today in the masjid. Marwan looked at me, asked me my name. I said, Ali, the son of Hussein." He went to Imam Zainul Abidin, asked him, "What's your name?" He said, Ali ibn al-Hussein. He says, "Oh father, they belittle us because you named all of us Ali." And this is where Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam made the historical declaration, لو ولد لي 100 لما سميتهم إلا عليا. Even if Allah had granted me 100 sons, I would not name any of them except Ali. Ali Mawla, Ali Mawla. Hey, Ya Ali. So you find over here that even the naming of the Imam has a hikmah. And even the names of the Imams have a dalala attached towards it. Everything happens with the ikhtiyar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I wasn't planning this, but it came inside. Yalla, mashi. Even if you look, there are secrets within the names of Ahlul Bayt and within the numbers of the names of the Ahlul Bayt. When you look at the entire Ahlul Bayt, 14 Ma'sumin. How many with Rasulullah and the Imams, how many of them from the Ma'sumin are called Muhammad? You have Muhammad al-Mustafa, Rasulullah himself, Khatam al-Anbiya, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam. Ba'ad Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. And then you have Imam Muhammad al-Jawad. And then you have Imam Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraja. From the 14 Ma'sumin, how many are Muhammad? 4. And then you come and you find from the Ma'sumin, how many of them there is Ali? Starting with Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ali. After Amirul Mu'mineen, you have Ali Zainul Abidin. After Ali Zainul Abidin, you have Ali Ar-Rida. After Imam Ali ibn Musa Ar-Rida, you have Imam Ali al-Hadi. for 4 ma'sumin that were named Muhammad, 4 of them were named Ali. The number of the ma'sumin who are Muhammad must equal the name of the ma'sumin that are Ali, because Rasulullah has said, we're from the event of Mubahila, what Rasulullah made very clear was the Mashi'a and the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the nafs of Muhammad is Ali. Even this is manifest within the names of Ahlul Bayt. Everything has a precise calculation towards it. فهذا هو. You find that Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, even by his name, there is a certain hikmah and there's a certain connotation within behind this name Ali that was granted to him. And in fact, you find that it was within one of the core functions of the imamat of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam that he would spread and propagate the wilaya of his grandfather Maulana Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. When you look at the functions of Imam executed by Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, you will find that the core, the central focus of the function of Imamat of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam revolved around Karbala and revolved around the wilaya. And to appreciate what Imam Sajjad did, you have to look at the context and the circumstances in which Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam lived. Such that he, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam himself says, Ruhi lahul fida after Karbala, that there isn't in the entire of Hijaz between Makkah and Medina 20 people who love us Ahlul Bayt. When you refer back to the books of Rijal and to the books of Sirah, you find that immediately after Karbala, from the close companions of Imam Zainul Abidin, there were perhaps 5 or 6 of them who were trusted with the teachings and companionship of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. For you find that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, narrator of the Masa'ib of Karbala, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam at the very forefront of Sha'air Husayniyah in terms of the adab and the etiquette and the extent to which you can go when it comes to the Aza of Imam al-Husayn. All this ma'alim from Zainul Imam, Zainul Abidin, Ruhi lahul fida. For you have an aspect of Imama in which Imam Sajjad alayhi salam sets the foundation to make the dhikr of Karbala eternal and the commemoration of Karbala eternal. And on the other hand, you have Imam Zainul Abidin working in an environment where Bani Umayyah at its peak propagate hate towards Amirul Mu'mineen, where the world's entire forces are concentrated on concealing the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen. You find the Imam Sajjad stands up in these circumstances to propagate the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen and make the dhikr of Amirul Mu'mineen eternal. How? We have within the books of Sirah, Hadith al-Sharif narrates that, or the Sirah, the historians narrate that upon the return of Imam Sajjad Ruhi lahul fida from Karbala, when he returned back to Medina, for a great period of time, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam isolated himself from the city of Medina and the people of Medina. And when we say that the Imam physically isolated himself, doesn't mean that the Imam stood down or abandoned wal ayadu billah the responsibility of a hujjatullah fil ard. La, physical isolation in which by way of hikmah and khafa the hujjatullah continues to ensure that the kalimatul haq is established on earth. Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam isolates himself from the city of Medina and from the people of Medina, such that Imam al-Baqir salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi narrates that my father moved into the deserts, il al-Badiya. He moved into the deserts and he built himself a very simple hut where he would live and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, and many times I would accompany my father from the desert and we would travel to the city of Kufa, into the outskirts of Kufa, and we would perform, my father would perform the ziyarah of Maulana Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And from here, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam goes on to narrate Ziyarat Aminullah. This Ziyarat Aminullah, which is a ziyarah attributed to Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, attributed in the sense that when you refer back to Kitab Kamilul Ziyarat and you open the ziyarah of Amirul Mu'mineen, the first ziyarah of Amirul Mu'mineen to be recited, you will find the nas and the text for Ziyarat Aminullah. One of the most revered, sanctified ziyarahs that you can recite of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam is Ziyarat Aminullah. This Ziyarat Aminullah was taught to us originally by Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. Imam al-Baqir used to say, my father used to go with us, or my father would take me to Najaf al-Ashraf, and there would be only 4 people, myself and my father, and the 2 men who would be on the camel with us, our guides or our servants. 4 of us. This ziyarah of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam that you see today with this shining golden qubba, al-dari that never remains empty. This ziyarah of Amirul Mu'mineen. Look at the history of how it began with Imam Sajjad. For Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam then goes on to narrate Ziyarat Aminullah. And the weight of this Ziyarah Aminullah and Ziyarat Amirullah or Ziyarat Aminullah, Alama Majlisi Rahmatullah alayhi then goes on to commentate and says that Ziyarat Aminullah as a general ziyarah, it is khasatan for Amirul Mu'mineen, and it was revealed for Amirul Mu'mineen, initially recited by Imam Sajjad for Amirul Mu'mineen. But because the meanings of this ziyarah are so lofty, on the basis that Awwaluna Muhammad, Awsatuna Muhammad, Akhiruna Muhammad, Kulluna Muhammad, on this basis you can recite Ziyarat Aminullah in every haram, in every dari, for every imam. But the original revelation and the original attribution for who? Maulana Amirul Mu'mineen, the Qa'id and the Imam of all Imams as well. Allahu Akbar. Ba'ad. For Imam Sajjad alayhi salam would address Amirul Mu'mineen through Ziyarat Aminullah. And the contents and the matan of Ziyarat Aminullah is so grand. You have within the books of history. And you will not find, I don't think you will find, any other ziyarah that is narrated with this type of a sanad, with this sort of importance. This is Ziyarat Aminullah narrated by Imam Sajjad. This is Ziyarat Aminullah, which was narrated by Imam Sajjad, was re-emphasized by Imam al-Baqir. This ziyarah that was initiated by Imam Sajjad and reinforced by Imam al-Baqir is being reinforced by Imam al-Sadiq. You find Ziyarat Aminullah initiated by Imam Sajjad, reinforced by Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq is narrated by Imam al-Kadhim. This is Ziyarat Aminullah initiated by Imam Zainul Abidin, which was reinforced by Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq. And Imam al-Kadhim is also narrated by Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida. Ziyarat Aminullah. For Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam propagates the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen. and begins to educate the world on the ma'rifah and begins to give them glimpses of ma'rifah of Amirul Mu'mineen through ziyarat Aminullah. Do you know that when it comes to ziyarat Aminullah, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, Abu Ja'far, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says that within ziyaratul, to paraphrase, within ziyarat Aminullah, there is ziyarah, there is dua, there is munajat. Not a single one of our followers recites ziyarat Aminullah, except that Allah's, his du'as are carried up by the angels onto the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This dua is sealed with the ring of Rasulullah, yani the ring of acceptance, and is vetted by Maulana Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam's ziyarah in regards to Amirul Mu'mineen. For we are trying to understand the relationship and the role of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam when it comes to propagating the wilayah of Amirul Mu'mineen. For what did Imam Sajjad do? Narrate for us ziyarat Aminullah, Allahu Akbar, one Ali giving us ma'rifah of another Ali, one who is Zainul Abidin teaching us the maqam of that Amirul Mu'mineen, one who is Sayyid al-Sajidin is teaching us the maqam of the Imam al-Muttaqeen. The beginning line of Ziyarat Aminullah, Wallahi al-Azim, the beginning line of Ziyarat Aminullah, you stand in front of the grave of Amirul Mu'mineen, and Imam Sajjad alayhi salam teaches us to say, Assalamu alayka ya Aminullah fi ardih. If this is recited with ma'rifah, wallah, and the qasam on the member of Imam al-Hussein, wallahi, billahi, and tallahi, if a person was to recite just this one statement with ma'rifah, Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah, he would faint at the grave of Amirul Mu'mineen if he was to understood the weight of the word Aminullah. What does Aminullah mean? Why does Imam Zainul Abidin refer to his grandfather Amirul Mu'mineen as Aminullah? Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah. Now, before we enter into the meaning of Amin Allah, so you understand what Imam Sajjad left for us in regards to the ma'rifah of his grandfather Amirul Mu'mineen. Amin Allah, the word Amin, is a word which is difficult to translate in English, but it has connotations of these words. Amin Allah, yani Amin means guardian. Amin means the one who is trusted with, entrusted with. So it can mean guardian, it can mean the one who is entrusted with. Number 3, Amin also has the connotation and also means the one who manages that amana. Amana is a trust. So when you give a trust to somebody, he manages that trust. He takes care of that trust. He manages it. He guarantees it for you. When you tell somebody is Amin, yani if you give an amana to somebody and that person is Amin, yani it's guaranteed whatever you give him will give it back to you. The opposite of Amin is khiyanat. The opposite of amana is khiyana. For Amin, safeguards, protects, guarantees, manages the trust is entrusted with. Sah. Imam Zainul Abidin describes his grandfather and salutes his grandfather in Najaf al-Ashraf by saying, Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah. And you also know that Imam Zainul Abidin is the Quranun Natiq, like the way we said yesterday, like how you have to have the ma'rifah of Abu Fadl Abbas through the Quran, ya Habibi. The ma'rifah of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam also has to be by the Quran. And then, because you are in this journey of Ishq, and we have been drinking from the fountain of Ishq, from the 3rd of Sha'ban, sometimes at the Dari of Imam al-Hussein, sometimes from the Dari of Abu al-Fadil, today drink from the fountain of Ishq inside of Jannatul Baqi. So you have one Quran Natiq, who is Ali Zainul Abidin, who is giving you ma'rifah of another Quran Natiq, who is also Ali using the Quran Samit. We want to understand when Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam says Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah and describes Amirul Mu'mineen as being Amin Allah. What is the meaning of the word Amin in the Quran? How is the word Amin used in the Quran? You find that the word Amin over here is used to describe Jibra'il, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Jibra'il by saying Ruhul Amin. Yani that angel who is entrusted with the responsibility of conveying the wahi from Allah to the Anbiya. He is known as Amin because he was entrusted with the wahi. The way he received it from Allah, he delivers it to the Prophet. So Imam Sajjad alayhi salam says, Muslim Ummah, when you read the Quran and you know that there is an angel by Jibra'il who is Amin, know that there is another Amin in Karbala, and there's another Amin in Najaf, and the Amin of Najaf is who qualifies the Amin of the Ruh, yani Jibra'il, because this Amin only became Amin because of that Amin in Najaf al-Ashraf. When you refer back to the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them to do sajda. From the angels amongst them was Jibreel. They said, how do we do sajda in front of somebody who sheds blood? Allah says, I know that what you don't know. So he said to Adam, teach them the names after displaying them. Mufassirin of the Quran from Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam narrate that light that was brought in front of them, Adam had to teach the Anbiya who these five are. From them was Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, and the Hassan and the Hussein alayhim salam.
اللهم صل على محمد
يا علي يا علي يا علي
Jibreel alayhi salam only got the title of Amin in the Quran because of his ma'rifah of the Amin of Najaf al-Ashraf. Then you come into the Quran and you find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, see, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam expects those who do the ziyarah of Amirul Mu'mineen to be lovers of Amirul Mu'mineen. Lovers of Amirul Mu'mineen are people who know the Quran, who use the ma'ani of the Quran to understand the hadith. And this in reality is fiqh. When you understand hadith and ziyarah through the terminology of Quran, when you understand Quran through the terminology of the hadith, you find over here that the word Amin is used to describe Jibreel alayhi salam. But you come into the Quran, the members of Ahlul Bayt who read the Quran, you find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in multiple places uses the phrase wa inni lakum rasulun amin. When the different prophets would come, they would say to the people, you have no reason to doubt our truthfulness because we are umana, we are people who are Amin. What has been conveyed to us to Allah, we are conveying back to you in the same way. So you come back to the Quran, you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Innahu lakum or inni lakum rasulun Amin. Reference to Nabi Nuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Inni lakum rasulun Amin, a reference to Shu'aib. Inni lakum rasulun Amin, a reference to Lut. Inni lakum rasulun Amin is a reference to Hud. For the one who recites the Quran with wa'i, and he knows that Amin is a title that is given to the Anbiya. When you come to the cover of this Sahib in Najaf al-Ashraf and you say, Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah, know that this Amin is in the same ranks of the Amin in the Quran, rather higher than the umana of the Quran, because no Nabi attained the position of Nabuwah except by attesting to the wilaya of this Amin of Najaf al-Ashraf. Ma'rifah. Look at the words of Imam Zainul Abidin. Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah. When a ma'asum Imam uses these words, Amin Allah, they have heavy connotations. Hope you didn't get scared. Everything we have mentioned right now is muqayyad. Muqayyad means restricted in its meaning. Because We said the word Amin, yani the guardian and the protector of. Amin of what? Amin of Wahi. Jibreel is what? Amin of Wahi. The way he receives it from Allah, he conveys it to the Anbiya. Nothing more, nothing short, nothing forgotten, nothing added. Sahih? Amin. Trustworthy. Then you come to the Anbiya. Inni lakum rasulun Amin. Nuh, and Lut, and Shu'aib, and Hud, and all the Anbiya. Amin, meaning what? The wahi that is granted to them to Allah, by Allah Azza wa Jal, they grant it to the people. The teachings of the Anbiya, they don't speak from themselves, they don't add anything, they don't reduce anything. The way it comes to them, they convey. Sahih. This is in the itar or in the parameters of deen. It's restricted. For a person who is Amin in regards to conveying the message of Allah to the people, then the ziyarah should say, Assalamu alayka ya Amina Wahyillah. Which is why when you read other ziyarat, you will find this phrase in particular, Assalamu alayka ya Amina Wahyillah. You protected the deen and you protected the sharia in the manner that Allah wanted you. The way Allah commanded you, you performed your task. Not more, not short. Assalamu alayka ya Amina Wahyillah. For everyone in the Quran, from Jibreel to the Anbiya, are Amina Wahyillah. You refer back to Ziyarat Aminullah. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam did not refer to Amirul Mu'mineen by saying Assalamu alayka ya Aminallah, ya Amina Wahyillah. Imam Zainul Abidin addresses Amirul Mu'mineen by saying Assalamu alayka ya Aminallahi fi ardi. You are the Amin and the protector and the entrusted one of Allah on the earth, meaning that Allah has entrusted you with more than the wahi and the deen. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you are the Amin of Allah on earth. You are the guardian and the one trusted by Allah on earth. What did Allah trust you with? Imam Sajjad leaves that door open. He said, Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah fi ardih. Anything and everything that comes into your mind within the realm of wujud, in the never-ending qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Amin is Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah fi ardih, without any restriction. You are the one whom Allah has entrusted you with it. Allah has given you the power of authority over it. You are the guarantor, the defender, the protector, the one who is entrusted with it. When you come, is there any end to the domain of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That is shirk to say that there is an end to the domain of Allah. No one should say that this is shirk or ghulu to Amirul Mu'mineen, because this power in this statement, Amin Allah, you are muntasib ilallah, which means Allah has given you the power. To shak in this fada'il is to have shak in the power of Allah to give this authority and this qudra to somebody else. For us, Allah Azza wa Jal is unrestricted. And hence when you see Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allah fi ardih, meaning that on this earth, in this realm of wujud, if you want the rahmah of Allah, you want to seek the rahmah of Allah, the one entrusted with delivering the rahmah of Allah, because Amin is the one who is entrusted with. If you want to seek the rahmah of Allah, the one entrusted with distributing the rahmah of Allah is Amirul Mu'mineen. If you are looking for the hikmah of Allah, then go to the door of Amirul Mu'mineen, because he is entrusted with it. When the Rasulullah said, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babuha, the doors of the city of knowledge and hikmah are with Amirul Mu'mineen. Ba'ad. Should I go step more? This is the sharh. The sharh of Ziyarat Aminullah. For Ziyarat Aminullah, Imam Ali Zainul Abidin is giving us ma'rifah of another Ali who is Amirul Mu'mineen. Now, if you want to understand the connotation and the reality of this Aminullah, which one Ali is trying to teach us to understand the maqam of another Ali, to understand the words and the depth of this Ali, Zainul Abidin, you have to understand the words of another Ali known as Aliyun al-Hadi alayhi salam. Because Imam Aliyun al-Hadi has a ziyarah in regards to the ma'rifah of Ahlul Bayt known as Ziyarat al-Jami'ah. So to understand the words or to understand the implications of Ziyarat Aminullah, which is nothing but the Fada'il of Amirul Mu'mineen. So to understand the Fada'il of Amirul Mu'mineen, you need to go through Imam Ali Zainul Abidin. To understand one Ali, Amirul Mu'mineen, you go to another Ali Zainul Abidin. To understand this Ali Zainul Abidin, you have to go to another Ali, Aliyun al-Hadi, Yani Ziyarat al-Jami'ah. To understand Ziyarat Aminullah, to understand Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. You find that in Ziyarat al-Jami'ah, Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam says, Man aradallah bada'a bikum. Whoever wants to attain Tawheed comes to your door. So the Ameen of Allah, the one entrusted with the knowledge of the Deen of Allah and the knowledge of Tawheed, is Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. But more than that, the Ameen of Allah, the one who is entrusted with the Qudra of Allah, the one who is entrusted with the bounties of Allah, deliverance of each and every ni'mah on earth is entrusted with Amirul Mu'mineen. And the proof for this is Ziyarat al-Jami'ah, where Imam al-Hadi says, وَيُنَزِّلُ وَبِكُمْ يُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثِ وَبِكُمْ يُمْسَكُ السَّمَاءِ. It is through you that the heavens open up rainfall on earth. The one entrusted with rainfall on earth is Amirul Mu'mineen. You know what that means? Rain yani water. Water yani the essence of life. The essence of life is entrusted with Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. The maqam of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam taught to us by Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. And truly, when you look at the mannerism in which and the surroundings in which Imam Sajjad alayhi salam goes and ensures that this wilayah of Amir is not concealed or diluted until the end of time. When you go back and you refer back and you read Ziyarat al-Aminullah again, your understanding of Imamate in its entirety changes. And we are ever grateful. And how can we ever thank Imam Sajjad for this blessing of the teachings and the ma'rifah of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam that he has left for us. With this we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, on a night like this, Ya Allah, do not deny us the shafa'ah of Mawlana Imam Sajjad alayhi salam on the day of judgment. Ya Allah, by the sake of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, hasten the reappearance of Imam Sahib al-Amr. Ya Allah, by the sake of Imam Sajjad, we ask you that when we are going to take this final breath in this dunya, Ya Allah, make Sakaratul Maut easy for us by bringing in front of us a nur from the nur of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Ya Allah, by the sake of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, keep us steadfast in our deen and our iman. By the sake of Imam Sajjad, Ya Allah, keep our children steadfast on the path of iman. Ya Allah, by the sake of Imam Sajjad, bless us with never-ending love for Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. By the sake of Imam Sajjad, Ya Allah, do not ever deny us the opportunity to serve Ali Muhammad. Do not ever deny us the opportunity to weep over the tragedy of Sayyid al-Shuhada and the tragedy of Ali Muhammad. By the sake of Imam Zainul Abidin, Ya Allah, Mu'mineen and Mu'minat who are gathered and following this majlis, do not let any one of them leave except that you have fulfilled their hajat, Ya Allah. By the sake of Imam Zainul Abidin, Ya Allah, Grant us the opportunity to perform the ziyarah of the A'immatul Baqi. Ya Allah, by the sake of Imam al-Sajjad, show us the day where golden kubbas will be towering over Jannatul Baqi. Ya Allah, by the sake of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, grant us the opportunity to perform the ziyarat of the A'imma in the dunya and to seek their shafa'ah in the akhirah. By the sake of Imam Sajjad, Ya Allah, marhumin and marhumat who have passed away, make their graves into a garden from the gardens of Jannah, and forgive us our sins on a night like this. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
With this, we continue our second part of the program, and inshallah we'll start with qasidas. Oh, the durood by Mohamed wa Ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بار دیگر صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ایک چھوٹا سا شعر سیدہ زہرا کی شان میں، اور اس کے بعد انشاءاللہ مناجات امام صاحب العابدین کی بارگاہ میں. بیاں کس طرح ہو تیری شان زہرا، بیاں کس طرح ہو تیری شان زہرا، یہ فردوس قاصر تمہارے لیے ہے، تیری سلطنت کا کنارہ نہیں ہے. There's no boundaries to your kingdom. تیری سلطنت کا کنارہ نہیں ہے، یہ دھرتی یہ عنبر تمہارے لیے ہے، بیاں کس طرح ہو تیری شان ذرا. افضل الصلاۃ والسلام علیک یا رسول اللہ محمد وآل محمد. یا رب دعا قبول ہو عابد کا واسطہ، یا رب دعا قبول ہو عابد کا واسطہ. ابن حسین سید سجاد کا واسطہ، سب مل کے یا رب دعا قبول ہو عابد کا واسطہ، ابن حسین سید سجاد کا واسطہ. تو نے جسے خطاب دیا زین العابدین، سجاد نام ان کا ہے عابد کا واسطہ، یا رب دعا قبول ہو عابد کا واسطہ، ابن حسین سید सज्जाद का बीमार करबला है लक़ब उसका ए खुदा हो दूर ये मरज तुझे आबिद का वास्ता या रब दुआ कबूल हो आबिद का वास्ता इब्ने हुसैन सैयदे सज्जाद का वास्ता या रब हमें नसीब हो ज़ियारत हुसैन की मरने से पहले देख ले तुरबत हुसैन की या रब दुआ कबूल हो आबिद का वास्ता इब्ने हुसैन सैयदे सज्जाद का वास्ता। इसी के साथ में अपने अगले रिसाइटर को दावत कलाम दूंगा इंशाल्लाह। ब्रदर अली हमराज
माशाअल्लाह। सल्लु अला मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद।
अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद व अज्जिल
मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु
अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला
मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद व अज्जिल फरजा।
Today is for Imam Sajjad, but ironically the majlis is also about Imam Ali, so some phrases with respect to that. And I think we had a glimpse of it yesterday, but I will start again. Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula,
Ali Ali Maula, Ali 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 Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali 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 Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali 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 Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali.
Naturally I will start with the Most High. Naturally I will start with the Most High. Lord of the seas, Lord of the seven skies. Naturally I will start with the Most High. Lord of the seas, Lord of the seven skies. Peace on Muhammad and salutations. Congratulations on this occasion. After Muhammad, who is your master? Ali Ali Maula,
Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula.
Nasibi, I have a sincere question. Nasibi, I have a sincere question. Since when is God's choice from an election? Nasibi, I have a sincere question. Since when is God's choice from an election? From Adam to the best of creation, revelation after revelation. I'm the rejecter, you're the elector. I'm the rejector, you're the elector. Guess on the Kawthar who's giving water.
Ali Ali Maula, 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 Ali Ali Maula. Haydari.
Nasibi, I would love to convince you. Again, we tell the haters of Ahlul Bayt. Nasibi, I would love to convince you, but at the same time, I have an issue. Nasibi, I would love to convince you, but at the same time, I have an issue. When I visit my Mawla Haida, there's not enough room for me to get through. So I would rather you stick to your Mawla. Let me breathe air next to my Haida.
Ali Ali Maula, 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 Haydar Maula.
Your enemies, Haydar, never faze me. Your enemies, Haydar, never faze me. But they never ever cease to amaze me. Your enemies, Haydar, never faze me. But they never ever cease to amaze me. They said I worship stones like an idol. They said I worship stones like an idol. They hesitate and they turn suicidal. They cannot understand what I explain. Maybe they have a stone in their brain.
Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Haydar Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Haydar Maula.
In the valley he commanded Musa. In the valley he commanded Musa. Enter the valley but take your shoes off. In the valley he commanded Musa. Enter the valley but take your shoes off. Maryam came to the house with Isa. Maryam came to the house with Isa. But they were kindly refused from a visa. See when Haydar entered the chosen, the Kaaba split.
Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Haydar Maula.
Good and evil cannot be equal from all the people. Ali, Ali. The good and evil cannot be equal from all the people. Ali, Ali. The Lord has chose you as Zahra's rose you. Who can oppose you? Ali, Ali. Ali is kindness, Ali is justice, Ali is priceless. Ali, Ali. Ali, ya Haydar, stand on the Kawthar, giving the water. Ali, Ali. Ali, Ali Maula,
Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali 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 Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali 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 Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali 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 Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali Ali Maula, Ali.
And who is after the holy Taha, Hassanain's father, Ali,
Ali.
Together. And who is after the holy Taha, Hassanain's father,
Ali, Ali.
What is a man's worth claiming he was fourth when he was the first?
Ali, Ali.
When I think of you, when I close my two eyes, I see the truth. Ali, Ali. I lose my feeling. Your name is healing. Your name is healing.
Ali, Ali.
Ali, Ali
Maula, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali.
The day you were born is when Satan mourned. The day you were born is when Satan mourned. The Kaaba was torn. Ali, Ali. Angels were piling in heaven, smiling. They're all reciting,
Ali, Ali.
Muhammad raised thee, Ali, I praise thee. Ali is bravery, Ali, Ali. My heart is your place, Ali, you're my faith. Ali, you are grace, Ali, Ali.
Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali, Ali Maula, Ali.
They said he was fourth, but I ain't too sure. They said he was fourth, but I ain't too sure. Since when did counting start with number 4? Khaybar sealed its gates and closed off the court. Who needs keys when Haydar's lifting the door? Shout at Khaybar, Shout at Khaybar, we have their master key. Shout at Khaybar, we have their master key. Ali, Ali, Mawla,
Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali. Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali.
Last word.
Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali.
They say I'm crazy for Abul Hasanain. They say I'm crazy for Abul Hasanain. I say I'm crazy, psycho and insane. He was the one who in prayer gave charity. He was the one who in prayer gave charity. How can I know him and keep my sanity? He was the one who spoke to the jinn in the valley. He was the one who spoke to the jinn in the valley. Ali, Ali, Mawla,
Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali. Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali. Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali.
Nare Haydari.
Ya Ali.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our third recital tonight is Abbas, right? Bismillah.
محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وہ کیا فاطمی ہے، وہ کیا ماتمی ہے، جو مولا علی کی ولا چھوڑتا وہ کیا فاطمی ہے، وہ کیا ماتمی ہے، جو مولا علی کی ولا چھوڑتا ہے. اور نہیں بات میری حدیث نبی ہے، علی کو فقط بے حیا چھوڑتا ولایت ادھوری، شرافت ادھوری، علی کے بنا ہے عبادت ادھوری، ولایت ادھوری، شرافت ادھوری، علی کے بنا ہے عبادت ادھوری. ابھی مانگ لو تم ولایت سے معافی، علی توبہ کا در کھلا چھوڑتا ہے. وہ کیا فاطمی ہے، وہ کیا ماتمی ہے، جو مولا علی کی ولا چھوڑتا ہے. پر محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
اللهم صل على محمد.
ایک اور صلوات محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
کہتے تھے علی کوفے میں بر سر منبر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر. حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، کہتے تھے علی کوفے میں یہ برسر منبر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، حیران ہے دنیا حیران ہے دنیا کیوں میرے معجزے سن کر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، 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 ارے سورج میرے کہنے پہ بھلا کیوں نہ پلٹتا، تارا میرے دہلیز پہ کیسے نہ اترتا، سورج میرے کہنے پہ بھلا کیوں نہ پلٹتا، تارا میرے دہلیز پہ کیسے نہ اترتا، اور میں نے ہی جلائے میں نے ہی جلائے تھے بجھا دیتا میں اکثر، میں نے ہی جلائے تھے بجھا دیتا میں اکثر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، اور ماں نے کبھی مرحب کے یہ مرحب سے کہا تھا، ماں نے کبھی مرحب کے یہ مرحب سے کہا تھا، تو لاکھ بہادر ہے مگر اس سے نہ لڑنا، تو لاکھ بہادر ہے مگر اس سے نہ لڑنا، میدان میں آ جائی میدان میں آ جائے اگر کوئی یہ کہہ گئے، حیدر ہوں میں حیدر، 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 اور میں کون ہوں کیا ہوں یہ بتانے سے بڑی ہوں، میں کون ہوں کیا ہوں یہ بتانے سے بڑی ہوں، کافی ہے اگر اتنا تو کہہ دوں کہ علی ہوں، ہاں کوئی نہیں ہاں کوئی نہیں میرے برابر، میں کون ہوں کیا ہوں یہ بتانے سے بڑی ہوں، کافی ہے اگر اتنا تو کہہ دوں کہ علی ہوں، ہاں کوئی نہیں ہاں کوئی نہیں میرے برابر حیدر ہوں میں حیدر حیدر ہوں میں حیدر حیدر ہوں میں حیدر حیدر ہوں میں حیدر کہتے تھے علی کوفے میں یہ برسر منبر حیدر ہوں میں حیدر 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 حیدر
With that, inshallah, we invite our next reciter, who is Mason, inshallah. Muhammad Ali with Nar. Allah, big Nar and Salawat.
محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد. لا لا هذا لي
يا علي يا علي يا علي مدد حق حيدر.
مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے سارا زمانہ ان کے در کا فقیر ہے مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے سارا زمانہ ان کے در کا فقیر ہے مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے اج فرق ہلا مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے اج فرق اج فرق ہلانا تو جھولا ہے آنگن ایسا ہے بچپن ایسا ہے بچپن بدگی اپنا نظیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے میں نبی بولے سمجھو علی کو
واہ 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 واہ
پہچانو دیکھو پہچانو دیکھو یہی
میرا وزیر مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر حیدر کو دے حیدر کو دے
خاک مٹا مٹ نہ سکے گا کعبے کو دیکھو کعبے کو دیکھو اس میں اب تک لکیر ہے مولا میر میرا مولا میر ہے مولا میر ہے سارا زمانہ ان کے در کا فقیر ہے مولا میر ہے مولا میر میرا مولا میر ہے مولا میر ہے دیکھو دیکھا دیکھا ہے یہ اس کے در کے نظارہ اترا ستارہ ایسے جیسے اسیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے مولا نعرہ حیدری یا علی یا علی مدد حق ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے خیبر کے میدان میں جو بھی نہارا مرحب کو مارا مرحب کو مارا ایسے پیروں کا امیر مارا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے سارا زمانہ ان کے در کا فقیر ہے مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر میرا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے وہ لاکھ مٹا مٹ نہ سکے گا کعبے کو دیکھو کعبے کو دیکھو اس میں اب تک لکیر ہے مولا امیر میرا حیدر یا مولا امیر ہے مولا امیر ہے اللهم صل على محمد. Gio, Jazakallah. With that, I'll invite Kumail. Please come in.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وہ گئے کہ حکم چخا فاطمہ کے چلتے ہیں وہ گئے کہ حکم جہاں فاطمہ کے چلتے ہیں تمام کام وہیں سے تمام کام وہیں سے خدا کی چلتے کے حکم جہاں فاطمہ کے چلتے ہیں یہ کیسی راہ گزر ہے یہ کون سا در ہے یہ کیسی راہ گزر ہے یہ کون سا در ہے کہ
مصطفیٰ بھی یہاں سے جھکا کے چلتے گئے کے حکم میں جہاں فاطمہ کے چلتے ہیں جبی پہ فخر سے رومال سیدہ باندھے جبی پہ فخر سے رومال سیدہ باندھے امام والوں میں قرم سے گرا کے چلتے ہیں بھوکے کے حکم میں جہاں فاطمہ کے چلتے ہیں کہ جیسے خاتم المائدہ کا سورہ ہو کہ جیسے خاتم المائدہ کا سورہ ہو ملک روتیا تیری اٹھا کے چلتے گئے وہ کر کے حکم چاہا فاطمہ کے چلتے ہیں علی کی تیغ تو چلتی ہے فرش پر لیکن علی کی تیغ تو چلتی ہے فرش پر لیکن فرشتے عرش پہ شہ پر بچا کے چلتے گئے وہ گھر کے حکم جہاں فاطمہ کے چلتے ہیں پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات یا علی یا علی یا علی یا علی یا علی ایسے ہم ساکیے کو سر کی طرف دیکھتے ہیں ایسے ہم ساکیے کو سر کی طرف جس طرح پیاس سمندر کی طرف دیکھتے ہیں سے ہم ساکیے کو سر کی طرف دے آیت ہو یا محمد ہوں اما کی خاطر آیت ہو یا محمد ہوں اما کی خاطر فاطمہ زہرا کی چادر کی طرف دیکھتے ہیں
ایسے ہمسایہ کو کی طرف دیکھ جب نصیری میرے مولا کو خدا کہتا ہے، جب نصیری میرے مولا کو خدا کہتا ہے، ہنس کے سلمان ابو ذر کی طرف دیکھتے ہیں، ایسے ہمسایہ کو سر کی طرف دیکھتے ہیں۔ محمد وعلی محمد صلی
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
Adohan wa aina Jabir or Imaldo, Somalia, do the head up. Yeah, so this was especially for Jabir. So in Somali. So let's invite Jabir in the recitation. For the last salawat. Request from Jabir.
After 3 nights of consecutive Mawlud, I was given the honor to wrap it up by Sabir. So let's take it back a little bit to the 3rd of Sha'ban.
Allahu Akbar.
And we just think who Imam Hussain alayhi salam really is. ہے جس کی فکر کربلا حسین وہ دماغ ہے پنجتن کا انجمن کا 5واں چراغ ہے، حسن سے پہلا ہم سفر علی کا دوسرا پسر امام تیسرا حسین ہے، کیا حسین ہے پوچھئے کہ کیا حسین ہے۔ And why do we hold Imam Hussain alayhi salam to such a high esteem? Is it just for this world or is it for the akhirah? قضا کے بعد پھر مجھے نئی حیات مل گئی، فشار سے عذاب سے مجھے نجات مل گئی، سوال جب کیا گیا ہے کون تیرا رہنما تو میں نے کہہ دیا حسین۔ Apart from the akhirah, also in this world, everything that comes to us through the hujjah is for the love of Imam. جو زمین سے اناج اگتا ہے، جو زمین سے اناج اگتا ہے، دانا دانا میرے حسین کا ہے ہر زمانہ۔
حسینیت زندہ باد، حسینیت زندہ باد، نعرہ حیدری۔
Some poets also mention that on the day of Ashur, Malakul Maut could not take the soul from Hussain alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself had to do this job. جس میں رب بھی زمین پہ آتا ہے، جس میں رب بھی زمین پہ آتا ہے، وہ مہینہ میرے حسین کا ہے
ہر زمانہ میرے حسین
لبیک یا حسین لبیک یا حسین
لبیک یا حسین
لبیک یا حسین
لبیک یا حسین.
Then we're told that the Quran is a living book. Does that mean every ayat is alive? And if it's alive, does it breathe?
جس میں آیات سانس لیتی ہے جس میں آیات سانس لیتی ہے بس وہ سینہ میرے حسین
زندہ باد زندہ باد
حسین کا ہے ہر زمانہ میرے حسین.
If I was to ask you, what's the most precious drop in this world? Would you say the blood of a martyr? Maybe.
جس کے قطرے ہے نقطے قرآن کے جس کے قطرے ہے نقطے قرآن کے وہ پسینہ میرے حسین کا ہے.
Finally, when we look at the story of Prophet Noah alayhi salam, right? Everything that needed protection boarded his ark. Imam alayhi salam was protecting the ark itself, and the 5 holy names were navigating this ark. But the captain of this ark was Noah alayhi salam. And everything that needed to be saved and needed salvation boarded Noah's ark. But where does Noah go for salvation?
جس میں نو بھی سوار ہوتے ہیں جس میں نو بھی سوار ہوتے ہیں وہ سفینہ میرے حسین کا ہے ہر زمانہ میرے حسین کا ہے ہر زمانہ میرے حسین کا ہے.
Then we move to the 4th of Sha'ban, right? The door of Ghazi, the door of all our prayers are answered at his door.
نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا کے لیے نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا کے لیے اس میں اعظم ہے یہ مومن کی التجا کے لیے نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا کے لیے نہ ہو نام علمدار جہاں میں اونچا کیوں نہ ہو نام علمدار جہاں میں اونچا اس کو مانگا ہی تھا اس کو مانگا ہی تھا حیدر نے کربلا کے لیے نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا تیرے روزے کا میں ایک بار کروں بس زیارت تیرے روزے کا میں ایک بار کروں بس زیارت میں وہاں آؤں
दिल के हर दुआ के लिए नामे अब्बास वसीला है हर दुआ के लिए. Then we get to the 5th of Sha'ban. The poem that I want to recite for you has a little bit of a story as to why this poem was written. And it was at the time of Hajj when Hisham Rahmatullah goes to the Kaaba to do Hajj, and there are thousands and thousands of people. And he tries to get to the Kaaba to touch Hajar al-Aswad, but there are too many people, so he can't. So wounded, his ego hurt, he decides to, be a gentleman and say, you know what, there are a lot of people, I'll just sit back and wait for the crowd to reduce. So he goes and sits atop a hill and is watching what's happening. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, a young man walks into Masjid al-Haram. And the people just part like the Sea of Musa. And he walks straight to the Hajar al-Aswad and kisses it. Hisham is now even more wounded by this. So he asks, who is this man? At that point, a lover of the Ahlul Bayt, Farazdak, stands up and says, I will answer you if you spare me my life. Hisham says, go ahead. This is the poem of Farazdak. And just as a side note, there's about 18 stanzas of this poem. I'm only going to recite 2. But in my limited capacity of just knowing how words flow, for somebody to off the cuff 18 verses when they rhyme the way they do is something totally different. I'll need your help in this one. So the chorus for this is Ali, Ali, Ya Ali, 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 Ya Ali, Ali. Ali, Ya Ali, 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 Ya Ali, Ya Sayyid al-Sajidin, Ya Zain al-Abidin, Ya Sayyid al-Sajidin, Ya Zain al-Abidin, Ali, Ali, Ya Ali, 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 Ya Ali, 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 Ya Ali, Ya Sa'ili الحل جود والكرم عندي بيان إذا طلابه قدموا هذا الذي تعرف البطحاء وطأته والبيت يعرفه والحل والحرم هذا ابن خير عباد الله كلهم هذا تقي نقي طاهر العالم هذا الذي تعرف البدهاء وسعته علي علي يا علي علي يا علي 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 يا علي 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 يا علي يا سائلي إلح الجود والكرم عندي بيان إذا طلابه قدموا هذا الذي تعرف البطحاء وطأته والبيت يعرفه والحل والحرم هذا ابن خير العباد الله كلهم هذا تقي نقي يطهر العالم هذا الذي تعرف بدهاء وطأته. Since Sheikhna is a little shy, I got this on Google, so you'll excuse me anyway. So Farazdak asks Hisham, tells him, "Oh, you who is questioning about the leader of generosity, supposed to be only 2 verses. I have the reply if you allow me. This is the one whose greatness the valley of Makkah recognizes. He is the one known by the sacred house the holy sanctuary and the lands outside the sanctuary. He is the son of the best of God's servants. He is the pious pure one, the clean eminent one. He is the one whose greatness of the valley of Makkah recognizes. Ali, Ali, ya Ali, 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 ya Ali. علي علي يا علي هذا الذي أحمد المختار والده صلى عليه له ما جرى القلم لو يعلم الركن من قد جاء يلثمه لخر يلثم منه ما وطى القدم هذا علي رسول الله والده أمست بنور هداه تهتدي الأمم هذا الذي عامه الطيار جعفر والمقول همزة ليث حبه قسم هذا الذي تعرف بدهاء وسأته يا سائلي آيل هل جود والكرم. I'll just translate that last piece and inshallah we're done.
Two was supposed to be with translation.
He is the one whose father is Ahmad, the chosen one. God has been blessing him since the pen of creation began moving. If the rukn, the black stone, knew who was coming to kiss it, it would fall down and kiss the ground under it. This is a very polite way of saying that Hajj Rasul will do sajda to the Imam. This is Ali, the messenger of Allah is his father. It is through the light of his guidance that nations have been guided. He is the one whose uncle is Ja'far al-Tayyar, and I swear by the slain lion Hamza that he is the one whose greatness the valley of Makkah recognizes. Ilahi babi mardashte mala jo bimar ho jald paave shafa Ilahi baraye imam ہمیں حول مہر شر سے دے تو امان قیامت تو معشور رہوگا علی اٹھے قبر سے کہہ کہ ہم یا علی خوشامہ خوشحالی نو دنیا امام کہ ہم شو علی ہست مولا امام اے پانچ بنو دل چاہتا حدان احمد و علی زہرا و حسن شبیر سلے تا امام زمان شبیر سلے تا امام زمان ایک ایک صدا صلوات پڑھو صلوات کے اس بے نسائے گوہر جو نبی بلند صفات ہوئے صلوات و سلام یا امام زمان فرماؤ ظہور یا امام زمان صلوات. السلام علیکم یا رسول اللہ السلام علیکم یا امیر المؤمنین السلام علیکم یا سیدتی و یا مولاتی فاطمة الزہرا سیدتی نساء العالمین السلام علیکم یا حسن المجتبى السلام علیکم یا ابا عبد اللہ الحسین وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم
السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبي الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين وأم البنين وأختيك زينب بنتك سكينة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا تسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان وإمامنا وإمام الإنس والجن. أجل الله لك ما وعدك من النصر وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم كن وليك الحجة ابن الحسن
صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا